I was 42 years old when I realized my own daughter had become my enemy. Not in some dramatic, sudden way. No, it happened so slowly, so carefully, that by the time I understood what was happening, I was already trapped. My name is Catherine, and this is the story of how the two people I loved most in this world conspired to destroy me, and how I made sure they both paid for it. It started on a Tuesday morning in March. I remember because it was my daughter Emma's 16th birthday, and I had taken the day off work to spend it with her. I was a senior project manager at a tech consultancy in Manchester, and taking time off wasn't easy, but Emma was my world. She had always been my world. From the moment she was born, with those huge green eyes that looked just like mine, I knew I would do anything for her. Anything. That morning, I made her favorite breakfast. Pancakes with strawberries and whipped cream, the way I'd made them every birthday since she was 3. I arranged them in a smiley face on the plate, something that used to make her laugh when she was little. But when she came downstairs that morning, she barely looked at them. She barely looked at me. "Thanks, Mum," she said, but her voice was flat, cold even. She picked at the food with her fork, scrolling through her phone with the other hand. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" I asked, sitting down across from her with my coffee. "Yeah, fine," she mumbled, still not looking up. I told myself it was just teenage stuff. Hormones, moods, all the things people warned you about when your daughter hit adolescence. But there was something in her eyes when she finally did glance at me. Something I hadn't seen before. It looked almost like contempt. My husband, Marcus, came down a few minutes later. He was still in his pajamas, hair messy, looking relaxed and easy the way he always did in the mornings. He'd been working from home more and more over the past year, running his financial consulting business from our home office. It meant he was around a lot. Maybe too much, I sometimes thought, though I felt guilty for thinking it. "Happy birthday, Princess," he said, wrapping Emma in a hug. She actually smiled then. A real smile, warm and genuine. The kind she used to give me, the kind she didn't give me anymore. "Thanks, Dad," she said, hugging him back. I watched them, feeling something twist in my chest. When did that happen? When did she start lighting up for him and going cold for me? "So, I said, trying to sound cheerful, "I thought we could go shopping today. Maybe get lunch at that Italian place you love, then pick out something special for tonight's dinner." Emma glanced at Marcus, actually glanced at him, like she was checking for permission or approval. He gave a little shrug. "Actually, Mom, I think I'm just going to hang out with Dad today," she said. "We already made plans." The words hit me like a slap. "But I took the day off. I planned this weeks ago. You knew that." "I know, but Dad's taking me to London. There's this exhibition I wanted to see, and he got tickets." She still wasn't really looking at me. I looked at Marcus. He had this apologetic smile on his face, but something about it felt wrong. Off. "Sorry, Kat. Emma mentioned it a few days ago, and I thought, she's turning 16. Maybe she wants something a bit more grown up than shopping with Mum." The way he said Mum made me feel about 100 years old. Made me feel stupid for thinking my daughter would still want to spend her birthday with me. "You could have told me," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It was going to be a surprise," Emma said, finally meeting my eyes. "But I guess now it's ruined." She said it like I was the one who had ruined something. Like I was the problem. I should have fought harder, should have insisted, but I didn't want to be that mother, the clingy one, the one who couldn't let go, who made everything about herself. So I smiled and said it was fine, of course it was fine, and I watched them leave together an hour later, Emma laughing at something Marcus said as they got in the car. I stood at the window long after they'd gone, that cold feeling in my chest spreading. Something was wrong. Something had been wrong for a while, actually. I just hadn't wanted to see it. Over the next few months, things got worse. Emma became more and more distant. She stopped telling me about school, about her friends, about anything. When I asked, she'd give one-word answers or tell me I was being nosy. But I'd hear her talking to Marcus for hours. I'd walk past her room and hear them laughing together, talking about me. I caught bits and pieces. She's so paranoid. I know, right? She's always been like this. Like what? I wanted to scream. Like a mother who cares. Like someone who notices when her daughter is slipping away. Marcus started doing this thing where he'd defend Emma against me, even when she was clearly in the wrong. She'd break curfew, come home at midnight instead of 10, reeking of cigarettes, and when I tried to ground her, Marcus would step in. Come on, Kat, she's 16. Remember what we were like at 16? And he'd wink at Emma, and she'd smile at him, and I'd be the villain. Again. I started having trouble sleeping. I'd lie awake at night, Marcus snoring beside me, and I'd run through conversations in my head, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong, where I'd lost her. Had I been too strict? Not strict enough? Too focused on work? I'd taken that promotion 2 years ago, the one that meant longer hours and more travel. Had that been the beginning of it? One night in June, I couldn't sleep at all. It was nearly 3 a.m, and I went downstairs to make tea. As I passed Marcus's office, I noticed the light was on under the door. That was strange. He usually worked during the day. I almost walked past, but something made me stop, made me press my ear to the door. I heard his voice, low and careful. No, she doesn't suspect anything. I'm telling you, it's working perfectly. Emma's completely on my side now. Catherine barely even tries to parent anymore. She knows Emma will just come to me. My blood went cold. Who was he talking to? And what was working perfectly? The therapy sessions are going well, he continued. Dr. Morrison thinks another few months and we'll have enough documentation. She's already noted Catherine's paranoia, the mood swings, the irrational behavior. When the time comes, it won't be hard to make the case. I stood frozen in the hallway, my heart pounding so loud I was sure he'd hear it. What case? What was he talking about? Trust me, Marcus said, and I heard him laugh. Actually laugh. By the end of the year, I'll have full custody, the house, and the business accounts. Catherine will be lucky if she's allowed supervised visits. And the best part? She's helping us build the case against herself every single day. I stumbled backward, my hand over my mouth to keep from making a sound. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. My husband, the man I'd been married to for 17 years, was planning something. Planning to what? Take Emma from me? Take everything from me? And therapy sessions? What therapy sessions? I wasn't in therapy, was I? Then I remembered. 3 months ago, Marcus had suggested I see someone. Just to talk through some stress, he'd said. Work's been really hard on you, and I think it might help. He'd even found the therapist, Dr. Morrison, and made the first appointment for me. I'd been going every 2 weeks since then, talking about my worries about Emma, about feeling like I was losing control, about the stress at work. Dr. Morrison had been sympathetic, understanding, asking lots of questions about my childhood, my relationship with my own mother, whether I'd ever had thoughts about harming myself or others. Oh, God. I'd thought I was getting help. I'd thought I was being responsible, taking care of my mental health. But Marcus had set it up. Marcus had chosen the therapist, and now he was using those sessions against me, somehow documenting things to make me look unstable. I went back upstairs on shaking legs. I got into bed beside the man I'd loved, the man I'd trusted with everything, and I lay there in the dark, understanding finally that I was in real danger. The next morning, I called in sick to work. As soon as Marcus and Emma left, I went into his office. I knew his password. We'd never had secrets, or so I'd thought. I logged into his computer and started searching through his files. What I found made me physically ill. There were documents. Lots of them. A folder labeled Catherine Evidence contained dozens of files. Recordings of me, some from therapy sessions. How had he gotten those? Dr. Morrison must have been in on it. There were video clips, clearly taken secretly, of me looking stressed, snapping at Emma, crying. There were emails to a solicitor, discussing divorce proceedings and custody arrangements. There were financial documents showing transfers from our joint accounts into accounts I didn't recognize. Marcus had been siphoning money for months. But the worst part, the part that made me actually vomit into his waste bin, was the folder labeled Emma Training Notes. I opened it with shaking hands. The files inside were detailed records, dating back almost 2 years. Marcus had been documenting his plan to turn Emma against me. Not just documenting it, engineering it. March 15th told Emma that Catherine was angry at her for poor grades. Actually, Catherine hadn't seen the grades yet. Emma now believes Catherine is overly critical and harsh. Comforted Emma, bonding successful. April 3rd, mentioned to Emma that Catherine was talking about sending her to boarding school. Complete fabrication, but Emma is now worried and sees me as her protector. Trust increasing. May 20th, showed Emma the savings account statement with reduced balance. Blamed Catherine for wasting money on frivolous things. Actually transferred the money myself. Emma now believes Catherine is financially irresponsible. June 8th, recorded Catherine raising her voice at Emma about the messy kitchen. Edited out the context. Showed Emma the recording later to illustrate Catherine's irrational anger. Emma cried. Held her. She said she wishes Catherine was more like me. On and on it went. Page after page of calculated manipulation. Marcus had systematically, methodically, over the course of 2 years, turned my daughter into a weapon against me. Every conversation twisted, every motherly concern reframed as criticism or paranoia. Every moment of normal parenting stress captured and edited and presented to Emma as evidence that I was the problem. And Emma, my sweet, trusting daughter, had believed every word. But why? That was what I couldn't understand. Why would Marcus do this? We'd had our problems, sure. What couple doesn't after 17 years? But nothing that warranted this. Nothing that explained this level of cruelty. I kept searching. There had to be more. And then I found it. An email from 8 months ago from an email address I didn't recognize. The subject line was, about Catherine. I opened it. Marcus, as we discussed, once you have full custody and control of the assets, we can be together properly. I know this is hard, and I know you hate hurting Emma, but she'll understand eventually. Children are resilient, and once Catherine is out of the picture, we can finally be a family. I can't wait to meet Emma properly. I'm sure she'll love me as much as I already love her. Stay strong. This will all be worth it. Love, Diana. Diana. I knew that name. Diana was Marcus's business partner. They'd started the consulting firm together 5 years ago. I'd met her exactly twice, both times briefly at work functions. She was younger than me by about 10 years. Pretty, ambitious. Marcus talked about her sometimes. Diana thinks we should expand into Europe. Diana secured another big client. I'd never been jealous. I'd trusted him completely. What a fool I'd been. This wasn't just about a divorce. This was about Marcus replacing me. Not just as his wife, but as Emma's mother. He was going to take everything from me, everything I'd built, everything I loved, and give it to Diana. And he was using my own daughter to do it. I sat in that office for hours, reading through everything, copying files to a USB drive, my hands shaking so badly I could barely control the mouse. By the time I heard Marcus's car in the driveway, I had everything. All the evidence. All the proof. But I didn't confront him. Not yet. Because I understood something crucial. If I confronted him now, in my emotional state, with no plan, he'd use it against me. He'd call it paranoia. He'd say I'd broken into his computer, violated his privacy, that I was unstable. He'd use my very justified anger as more proof that I was the problem. No, I needed to be smarter than that. I needed to be as calculated as he'd been. More calculated. I needed a plan. First, I needed someone on my side. someone who couldn't be manipulated or bought. I called my brother, James, who lived in London. We'd always been close, and he was a barrister, specializing in family law. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, and when I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Kat, this is serious. Really serious. What Marcus is doing, it's not just unethical. Parts of it might actually be illegal. The financial manipulation? Definitely. If Dr. Morrison has been sharing therapy notes without your consent, that's a massive breach. And the manipulation of Emma, while not technically illegal, shows a pattern of behavior that any judge would take into account. Can we stop him? I asked, my voice breaking. We can fight him, and from what you've described, we can win. But Kat, I need you to be smart about this. Don't let him know you know. Not yet. We need to build our case carefully. Can you do that? Can you pretend everything is normal? Could I? Could I sleep next to this man, eat breakfast with him, smile at him, knowing what he was planning, knowing what he'd done to Emma, to us? I didn't have a choice. I can do it, I said. And I did. For the next 3 months, I was an actress playing the role of my life. I went to my therapy sessions with Dr. Morrison, and I lied. I told her I was feeling so much better, that things with Emma were improving, that I'd been overreacting about everything. I watched her write down her notes, knowing now that they were going straight to Marcus, and I smiled. At home, I was the perfect wife. I cooked Marcus's favorite meals. I asked about his day. I laughed at his jokes. And every time he touched me, every time he kissed me, I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I played my part. With Emma, I backed off. I stopped trying so hard. If she wanted to spend time with Marcus, fine. If she was cold to me, I let it go. I couldn't bear to fight her anymore, knowing now that she was a victim in this too. My poor baby, being used by her own father. But while I played the part of oblivious wife, James and I were working. He found me a new therapist, one Marcus didn't know about. Someone who could evaluate me properly and provide documentation that I was mentally sound. He hired a private investigator to dig into Marcus's finances and to find out more about Diana. He connected me with a solicitor who specialized in contentious divorces, and I started documenting everything. I kept a detailed journal backed up in the cloud. I recorded conversations. I took photographs. I gathered evidence the same way Marcus had, except mine was true. The private investigator came back with information that made everything clearer. Diana was married. She had 2 kids of her own, aged 7 and 9. She'd been having an affair with Marcus for 3 years. 3 years, almost as long as he'd been turning Emma against me. They'd been careful. Hotels out of town, fake business trips. But the investigator got photographs, credit card receipts, text messages recovered from deleted files, and the financial investigation revealed that Marcus had been stealing from me for over a year, not just from our joint accounts, from my personal accounts, using information he had as my husband, from my retirement fund, from the inheritance I'd received when my mother died. In total, he'd taken nearly £200,000. James said we had enough. We could move forward. But I wanted one more thing. I wanted Emma to know the truth. That was the hardest part. Because how do you explain to your daughter that her father has been manipulating her for years? That the parent she'd come to trust, to rely on, was the villain all along? She'd been living in his version of reality for so long. Would she even believe me? I decided to let the evidence speak for itself. On a Saturday in September, Marcus told Emma and me that he was going to London for a business meeting. He'd be gone overnight. I knew from the investigator that he was actually meeting Diana at a hotel in Brighton. They were planning a weekend away. As soon as he left, I went to Emma's room. She was on her bed, on her phone, and she barely looked up when I came in. "Emma, sweetheart, I need to talk to you," I said. "I'm busy, Mom," she said, not looking up. "Please, it's important. It's about your dad." That got her attention. She looked up, and I saw wariness in her eyes. "What about him?" I sat down on the edge of her bed. My heart was pounding. This was it. This could go so wrong. But I had to try. I need to show you something, I said. I had my laptop with me. I opened it and pulled up the folder I'd been preparing. I found these files on your dad's computer a few months ago. I need you to look at them with an open mind. Can you do that? Did you go through dad's stuff? She asked, her voice sharp. That's like a total invasion of privacy. I know it looks that way, but Emma, please, just look. And then you can decide what you think. I showed her the Emma training notes folder first. I watched her face as she read through the entries. At first, she looked skeptical, defensive. But as she kept reading, I saw the change, the confusion, the dawning realization. I don't understand, she whispered. This says, Dad lied to me about the boarding school thing? There was never any boarding school, sweetheart. I never said that. I never even thought it. She kept scrolling, reading entry after entry. Her hands started to shake. The money. He said you spent it, but this says he took it. He's been taking money from our accounts for over a year. A lot of money. Why would he do this? Her voice cracked. Why would he lie about you? Why would he make me think? She didn't finish the sentence, but I knew what she was thinking. Why would he make me think you were the bad one? Then I showed her the emails with Diana. I showed her the investigator's report, the photographs of Marcus and Diana together, kissing outside a hotel, the financial records, the communication with his solicitor about taking custody, about having me declared unfit. Emma read it all. By the time she finished, she was crying, really crying, in a way I hadn't seen since she was small. I'm so sorry, Mom, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. I believed him. I believed everything he said. He said you were the one who was, and I thought, oh God, what did I do? I pulled her into my arms, and she let me. For the first time in 2 years, my daughter let me hold her while she cried. It's not your fault, I told her, stroking her hair. None of this is your fault. He manipulated you. He's your dad, and you trusted him, and he used that against you. That's on him, not you. I was so horrible to you, she said. All those things I said, all those times I chose him over you. How can you even forgive me? Because I love you, because you're my daughter, and because I understand now that you were a victim in this too. We stayed like that for a long time, holding each other, crying together, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt like I had my daughter back. When we finally pulled apart, Emma wiped her eyes and looked at me with a determination I recognized. She looked like me. What are we going to do? She asked. We're going to fight back, I told her, and we're going to win. The next week, I filed for divorce. Not just divorce. I filed for fraud, for financial abuse, for alienation of affection. James helped me file complaints with the therapy board about Dr. Morrison's ethics violations. We filed for full custody of Emma, with Marcus getting only supervised visitation. Marcus was blindsided. He came home one evening to find me, Emma, James, and 2 police officers waiting in the living room. The look on his face when he understood what was happening, that's something I'll treasure forever. Catherine, what is this? He asked, trying to sound confused, concerned, still playing the part. This is the end, I said calmly. These officers are here to ensure you leave peacefully. You're being served with divorce papers, a restraining order, and a lawsuit for fraud and embezzlement. You are not to contact Emma or me except through solicitors. You have 1 hour to pack your essential belongings and leave. You can't do this, he said, and now the mask was slipping. I could see the anger underneath. You have no grounds for any of this. I'll fight you, Catherine. I'll take Emma. I'll take everything. No, Dad, Emma said, standing up. Her voice was steady, strong. You won't. Because I know what you did. Mom showed me everything. All of it. The lies, the manipulation, the way you used me against her. I'll testify if I have to. I'll tell everyone what kind of person you really are. Marcus looked at Emma like he didn't recognize her. Emma, sweetheart, Your mother has been lying to you. She's not well. You know that. We've talked about this. She's paranoid. Stop, I said. Just stop. We have evidence, Marcus. All of it. The files from your computer, the recordings, the financial records, the investigator's report about you and Diana, the emails, everything. Your solicitor already has copies. So do the police, because some of what you did is actually criminal. So you can drop the act. We all know who you really are now. I watched him process this, watched him realize that his careful plan had fallen apart, that he'd lost. You went through my private files, he said finally. That's illegal. Actually, James said, speaking for the first time, it's not. Not when there's reasonable suspicion of fraud and abuse, and certainly not when those files document criminal activity. But you're welcome to try arguing that point in court. I'm sure the judge will be very interested in the contents of those files, regardless of how they were obtained. Marcus left that night. He tried to talk to Emma on his way out, but she turned her back on him. I'll never forget the look on his face. Shock, betrayal, anger, all the things he'd made me feel for 2 years reflected back at him. The divorce took 8 months to finalize. It was ugly. Marcus fought everything, just like I knew he would. But we had the evidence, and in the end, evidence matters. Dr. Morrison lost her license. The therapy board found that she'd been sharing confidential patient information with Marcus, who wasn't even my emergency contact, and that she'd done so in exchange for payment. She'd been complicit in the whole thing, helping Marcus build a false narrative about my mental health. Her career was over. Marcus was ordered to pay back every penny he'd stolen, plus interest, plus damages. The court ruled that he'd committed fraud and financial abuse. He was also ordered to pay my legal fees, which by the end totaled nearly £50,000. His business with Diana fell apart. Once the affair became public record through the divorce proceedings, Diana's husband filed for divorce too, and he made sure everyone in their professional circles knew exactly what had happened. Turns out, clients don't like doing business with people who've proven themselves to be liars and cheats. Last I heard, both Marcus and Diana were struggling to find work. As for custody, Emma made it clear in her testimony that she wanted nothing to do with Marcus. The judge granted me full custody, with Marcus getting supervised visitation rights only. He tried to exercise those rights exactly twice. Both times, Emma refused to go. After the second time, he stopped trying. That was 3 years ago. Emma is 19 now, in her first year at university, studying psychology. She says she wants to help other families who've been through manipulation and abuse. She wants to recognize the signs that she missed in her own life. I'm so proud of her. We've both been in therapy, real therapy this time, working through what happened. Emma carries a lot of guilt about the things she said and did during those 2 years. I keep telling her it's not her fault, but I understand why she struggles with it. I struggle too, with the trust issues, with the anger. Some days are harder than others, but we're healing, together. Marcus tried to reach out a few months ago. He sent Emma a letter saying he was sorry, that he'd been wrong, that he wanted to be part of her life again. Emma showed me the letter, and we talked about it. In the end, she wrote back. One sentence. You don't get to manipulate me anymore. She didn't even sign it. I never heard from him again after that. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I hadn't found those files. If I'd never gone into his office that night. If I'd never discovered the truth. Would Marcus have succeeded? Would I have ended up in some facility, deemed unfit, while he raised Emma with Diana? Would I have lost everything? Probably. He'd planned it all so carefully. He'd been patient, methodical, cruel. If I'd been just a little less stubborn, a little less willing to trust my instincts that something was wrong, he would have won. But he didn't win. I did. We did. People sometimes ask me if I regret anything, if I wish I'd done things differently. The honest answer is yes. I wish I'd noticed sooner. I wish I'd trusted my instincts earlier when I first felt Emma pulling away. I wish I'd never suggested couples therapy, never opened that door that Marcus walked through to find Dr. Morrison. But mostly, I wish I'd never trusted Marcus the way I did. I wish I'd never believed that the person sleeping next to me, the father of my child, could be capable of such calculated cruelty. That's the hardest thing to accept. Not that he stopped loving me. People fall out of love. Marriages end. That's painful, but it's normal. No, the hardest thing is accepting that he must have hated me. Really, deeply hated me. Because you don't do what he did to someone you once loved. You don't spend 2 years systematically destroying someone's life, turning their child against them, stealing their money, trying to have them committed, unless there's real hatred there. I still don't know where that hatred came from. What I did to deserve it. Maybe I'll never know. Maybe there is no reason, no logic to it. Maybe some people are just capable of cruelty, and I was unlucky enough to marry one of them. But I survived it. Emma and I both survived it. And we didn't just survive. We fought back, and we won. Last month, Emma and I went back to that Italian restaurant, the one I'd wanted to take her to for her 16th birthday. We got the same table, ordered too much food, and laughed until our sides hurt. At one point, Emma reached across the table and took my hand. "Thank you for not giving up on me," she said, "even when I gave you every reason to." "You're my daughter," I told her. "I will never give up on you, never." She smiled, squeezed my hand, and said, I know that now." That moment, sitting there with my daughter, feeling her hand in mine, seeing real love and trust in her eyes again after so long, that was my revenge. Not the money Marcus had to pay back, not his ruined reputation or his failed business, not even the look on his face when Emma turned her back on him for the last time. No, my revenge was this: getting my daughter back, rebuilding what Marcus tried to destroy, proving that his cruelty didn't break me, that Emma and I could heal, could move forward, could be stronger than we were before. He wanted to take everything from me. He almost did. But in the end, I kept what mattered most. And he lost everything. That's real revenge. Not just winning, but moving on. Not just surviving, but thriving. Not just keeping what he tried to steal, but making it better than it ever was before. Marcus is alone now. No wife, no daughter, no business, no reputation. He made his choices, and he's living with the consequences. I hope it was worth it. I hope Diana was worth losing everything for. Somehow, I doubt it. As for me and Emma, we're building a new life. One without lies, without manipulation, without someone systematically trying to destroy us from the inside. It's not always easy. We still have hard days, but we have each other, and that's enough. I used to be afraid of what Marcus did to us, afraid that the damage was permanent, that Emma and I would never get back what we lost. But I understand now that we didn't lose anything. We shed something. We shed the weight of a person who was poison. And now, without that weight, we're free. Emma came home last weekend for a visit. She's doing so well at university. She has friends, a boyfriend who seems genuinely kind, good grades. She's happy, really happy. And when she looks at me now, I see love there. Not the complicated, confused love of those dark years, but something pure and strong. She helped me make pancakes on Sunday morning, the way I used to make them for her. We arranged them in smiley faces on the plates and laughed about it. "This is nice," she said. "Just us." "Just us," I agreed. And it was. It is. Marcus tried to turn my daughter into an enemy. He spent 2 years carefully, methodically, cruelly working to destroy the bond between us. He thought he could use her as a weapon against me. He thought he could take everything I loved and leave me with nothing. But he was wrong. Because love is stronger than manipulation. Truth is stronger than lies. And a mother's bond with her daughter, a real bond built on years of real love, can survive even the most calculated attack. Emma and I survived. We fought back. We won. And Marcus? He's irrelevant now. He's just a cautionary tale we sometimes tell, a reminder of what we overcame. He wanted to be the author of my destruction. Instead, he's just a footnote in the story of how Emma and I came back stronger. That's my revenge. Not that he lost. That's just karma. No, my revenge is that I won. We won. And we're happy. He can't take that away from us. He can't take anything away from us anymore. We're free.